Hi everyone, it's Rio CloudSync. In today's session, we'll take a high-level look at configuring multi-factor authentication settings in Microsoft Entra ID. I've accessed the Microsoft Entra admin console via navigating to entra.microsoft.com. I'm a global administrator. You can also be a security administrator. Of which, if I navigate to the left-hand side and select protection, and I scroll down to multi-factor authentication, this will take me or navigate me to the Get Started page for multi-factor authentication, of which in this video we'll focus on the Settings Service pane. We also have options to configure server and reports. I'm going to select Account Lockout, and with that it will give me three options in terms of configuration. One of which is number of multi-factor authentication denials to trigger account lockout, minutes until account lockout counter is reset, and minutes until account is automatically unblocked. We can configure this, no problem. However, this only does affect users who sign in using MFA Server from an on-premise perspective, of which MFA Server will deprecate from September 2024. There is a massive push at the moment to move people from MFA Server on-prem to the cloud-native solution for multi-factor authentication, and Microsoft have put into practice a utility tool to assist in that migration piece, of which if you're an administrator, you can scroll down to server, you can scroll down to server status, and if you did have a server in place for MFA, you could click server status and download the utility tool to validate the prerequisites in terms of the migration and assist you in the migration piece. If we select block-unblock users, we also have the ability to block users within our organization based on the fact they may be compromised, they may have lost their phone, or we may have received a high alert based off of that user. We can select add user and we could type in a fully qualified domain name. This could be riohindle@katoso.com, and we can provide a justification of why we're blocking the user. In this instance, the default reason is lost phone, or example reason is lost phone. If you were to block the user, they would remain in the block list for 90 days. After such time, they would be removed. We also have the ability to unblock users, of which we just select the user and select remove. Off the back of configuring fraud alerts, there may be automatic intervention from a Microsoft perspective and block a user based off the end user reporting that there has been a known fraud or a suspected fraud, of which you'll just come into this pane and complete the same actions, i.e. removal of the user from this console. If we were to scroll to fraud alert, we do have the option to configure the fraud alert for our end users. This does affect the end user experience. So if you were to configure this console, there may be a need to send out a notification to the end user to say, as and when, or if you suspect there to be a fraud, or someone's initiated an authentication request on your behalf and it was not you, you do have the option to now report a fraud, and this is the number you need to dial. For example, we can allow users to submit fraud alerts. We can set this to on. And we also have the option to automatically block users who report fraud, of which if they do report fraud, they would then be blocked and they would then appear in the block-unblock users console here. So if we were to go back to fraud alert and we set this to on and we select automatically block users who report fraud as on, we also have the option to change the dial code to report the fraud. By default, it is set to 0. However, we can amend this how we like. One of the other bits of configuration we can amend are notifications. So say for example we did configure the fraud alert, we can set up a notification to trigger, just like a workflow automation, to go to either a global administrator or a particular user account within your organization, of which it will notify that user to say, okay, there has been a possible fraud alert, please can you review it and make sure it's either remediated or maybe it's a false positive. We don't know. There is a tie-in to identity protection in terms of the fraud alerts, So as and when a user does report fraud or they're detected as a compromised or fraudulent account, they will be flagged up as a high-risk user, of which if you are using the likes of user risk and sign-in risk within identity protection, which is a P2 Entra ID P2 license feature, then you can use those artifacts or policies to set off either request of multi-factor authentication or restriction of access, so blocking access to the M365 services or Azure services. Other than that, hopefully that gave you a bit of an indicative on what these settings do and how they affect you as an organization, and increase security drive and reduce your overall security risk. Thank you very much. Any questions, please do let me know.